In this video, we'll be talking about Amazon product compliance in Europe. So if you're selling in European marketplaces or want to sell in European marketplaces, watch this webinar because we have a guest, Anton Herman from SpaceGoats, who will give us some overview what's happening in Europe. I think there are some new things you need to know in terms of product compliance. So let's invite Anton. Hi there. Hi.
Thanks for having me. Long time no see, and yeah, I'm looking forward to answer your questions. So feel free to
Yes.
to ask whatever, yeah, is related to the topic.
I know you have a few slides prepared, but before we jump to the content, can you tell us how do you help Amazon sellers? I want to inform viewers that SpaceGoats has very interesting business model and probably unique service in the world for people who want to sell in Amazon in Europe.
Thank you very much for that introduction. So my name is Anton Herman. I'm one of the founder of SpaceGoats, and what SpaceGoats is doing, we sell your products through our Amazon account all over Europe, plus UK, and very interesting, since a couple of months also in the USA. Without any bureaucratic headache, without any VAT headache, without any product compliance headache, and you can focus on whatever you are good in, for example, marketing or so if you want to sell in one of these countries, so European Union, UK, or USA, and you are not aware of how it works, or you don't want to do it yourself, then just hit us up and we can have a great conversation. Anton@spacegoats.io.
And below in the description, you will find a link to SpaceGoats and also a coupon code which you can apply when you contact them or sign up on their website. You will get a discount on their rates in the first 3 months. And it's about like 200 euro savings per month or something like that. And I wanted to ask, so when you work at SpaceGoats, which hat are you wearing?
Right now, so I did everything in the beginning.
You have a lot of hats.
That's what you mean. That's what you mean. Yeah, normally I use this one because I'm a cool guy. But sometimes I have to use the strict one if my colleagues are not doing what I want them to do. So
to clarify, you said because you are a cool guy or clown guy?
They're both. So it depends on the situation.
Okay, so let's jump to the slides. And while you are sharing your screen, I remind again for all the viewers that you are welcome during this session to ask questions. If you're watching live, you can use the chat box. If you're watching the replay, you can use the comment section below in the description. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, which helps us to bring our content to more viewers around the world. And I see the slides are already ready. So let's do it, SpaceGoats.
Let's do it. I was missing the dry humor without any emotions, and then it was a joke, and then okay, now I got it. I'm talking to Augusta. So thank you very much for inviting me. Today we have the very exciting, no, I'm kidding, it's not super exciting, but it's super important, the topic product compliance in the European Union. And why is this topic today more relevant than it was maybe a couple of years ago? So first of all, this is the motivation for the presentation, why it is more relevant than it was before. You might have heard about the Digital Market or Digital Markets Act. That's a regulation from the European Union, and this says that there are like two ways: a Digital Service Act for the big platforms like social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and so on, and there's one for the big marketplace platforms, the Digital Markets Act, and it tells that the gatekeeper of a marketplace, so especially for example Amazon itself, must ensure that the products sold on their marketplace are aligned with the legal or with the local law. And this was not like that before. So before that, Amazon just said like, hey, do whatever you want, we just provide the software, or we just provide the marketplace, or we just provide the infrastructure or whatever. But now the European Union wants to take Amazon into account for what's going on there, and that forces Amazon to be stricter on what they are doing with their selling partners. And we feel it. on a daily basis. That the world changes in this regards. And just to calm you down, this stuff is relevant for everybody on the marketplace, not only for you. It's also relevant for your competition. And if you are compliant, then you have a market advantage, and that's why you can also reframe it as a chance. So you might have heard about the VAT obligations 22F formula in Germany. So if you wouldn't upload this VAT tax whatever formula form to Amazon to a specific date, Amazon will block your account. And it happened a lot. That was one part of this Digital Markets Act. And the Digital Markets Act, it does not come at one time. So Amazon or the marketplaces, they got time, the gatekeepers, they got time to implement it one by one. So you experience the 22F formula, you experience the EPR, so external product responsibility, where they ask you for WEE numbers, where they ask you for packaging registration numbers, all that stuff. That's all part of this bigger thing, the Digital Markets Act. And therefore, I want to share, and now that's a disclaimer, it's not a legal advice. It's not a legal advice because this topic is so broad and so deep that we cannot just cover everything. I will tell you in the next slides or in the next minutes, hours, whatever, which common mistakes we experience on a daily basis and how to avoid that common mistake. It's not complete, but you can ask me afterwards if you need any support with anything related to product compliance or selling in Europe or the USA. All right, let's jump. So because product labeling is so important, I made 2 sections of product labeling because you can make so much wrong over there. Then we talk about CE requirements, organic label. You might have heard about it. It's a big thing here in Europe to increase conversion rate and deliver trust, and you save the planet and blah. And listing pitfalls. So when your product is already compliant, what can go wrong afterwards? So I'm, as Augusta said, and I want to emphasize it as well, please give us your questions right now or afterwards. We would love to have something like a conversation here if it's possible. Otherwise, you can always ask us via email, and yeah, you know the drill. So first about me, only 4 points. Yeah, my name is Anton Hermann. I founded SpaceGoods officially in 2019. Was responsible for everything related to operations, then marketing and sales, and did a bit of product, like product owner stuff like that. But right now I'm doing primarily product marketing and sales, and like the face of the company, presentations like that. And we are already selling in 9 countries, but with Belgium together, it's already 10 countries. So 10 marketplace countries where Amazon is actually located with its own warehouse. And we have to take compliance very serious. And the reason is because our Amazon account. And if you sell some product which is not compliant, and Amazon will identify it through a competition or through an algorithm or whatever, then we get the trouble in our account. So we get a flag. Hey guys, you're not compliant in this. And if you have too many flags, your account is in danger. That's why we are forced to take compliance serious. But if we take compliance serious, then you can be sure your product is compliant after we check it. So that's the advantage and the disadvantage in one time. At one time. Yeah, we offer also standalone services since a couple of weeks. So if you just want to check your products and just make your product compliant in any way, taking copywriting, whatever, you don't need to be selling as a service customer. You can just book it as a single service. You can also hit us up on this one. And we learned a lot the hard way, but you will see in the next minutes what kind of weird examples I brought with me today. So let's deep dive into product labeling. Paragraph 6, product security law. Okay. Most important thing is nobody wants to actually harm you. So the European Union does not want to destroy your business or make life harder for no reason. There's always a reason. Maybe you don't understand it, maybe it's a stupid reason, but there's always a reason why they do things, why they can come up with laws. And regarding product compliance, there's always one leading sentence. The end customer and consumer is stupid, and we have to protect him for whatever reason. And that's why an end customer in Germany, for example, can go into an offline retail store, and he can be pretty sure that whatever he's buying, he knows that it's compliant and that it follows the local regulations. That's a good thing. That's a good part of it. But the bad part of it, it's hard to be compliant because there are so many rules and so many laws, and it's so deep. But just to cover some of them. If you are selling a product in the European Union, that might be shocking for some, for the others it's common sense, but if you are selling a product in the European Union, it must have a prerequisite on, like an address which you can actually sue on the product itself. I'm emphasizing on the product itself. But if it's not possible to put it on the product itself, then you can put it on the packaging. 90% of the sellers, maybe more, they think the other way around. They really think the other way around. And that's wrong. And if you have the space, for example, to put a sticker or to put the address somewhere on the product, if you want to be super sure, you have to put it on the product itself and not on the product packaging. And I will tell in the next slide what is the implication of this. Other than that, beside an address, which must be in the European Union, that's important. If you're in a UK company, you cannot put a UK address on your product which you want to sell in Europe. It's impossible. You're not compliant then. And another thing which is important here, the target country is relevant for this. For whatever is required by law, but we will talk about it a bit later in depth. So you need an address in the European Union, a company, legal entity in the European Union, which is on the product, which is liable for the product and the product compliance. Second of all, which was new to me when I created that presentation, you need a identity of the product, the identity of the product in some way on your product, on the packaging. What do I mean? If you're Apple and you're selling Apple headphones and you're selling Apple headphones, you need to write on each of the headphones what kind of headphones that are, so that you can distinguish these two products from each other. And that's not clear for everybody. So you cannot sell a product just with the brand on the packaging and that's it. You need to clarify what kind of a product the customer is purchasing. That are small details, but the thing with compliance is always, maybe I will drop the sentence a couple of times today, if one thing is not compliant, then everything is not compliant. That's the inconvenient truth about product compliance in the European Union. USA is different, but in the European Union. Augustus.
Anton, yeah, I wanted to ask, so you say, like let's say Apple likes to have a box with just a logo. And if they are selling on Amazon, nobody sees the packaging. So you just show headphones on the picture, and it's not compliant if the box, which is just in the warehouse, nobody sees in the shelf, right? Like still should be everything on the box.
There are same rules for offline and online. And if you receive a box, you see the Apple, for example. Yeah, there is on the side, there's the product, but on the side you have still Apple, what kind of product you're purchasing. And yeah, it doesn't matter. And also another mysterium or another rumor that Amazon is going through all the listings and blocking all the sellers. No, that's not a reality. Your competition will do that. They will always do that if you're getting big enough. So they check the market and see, oh, this guy is getting dangerous. Let's order some products of him and just a mystery shop product and just check it. And then let's tell it Amazon and Amazon will block him. That's what's the reality. And that's why this reality is real, because your competition will not sleep. And there are like bad sheeps or black sheeps out there, which actually abuse that system. And there are services out there. I don't want to promote them right now, but there are services out there where you can block your competition and stuff like that. It's morally not. I don't. Yeah.
Okay. So one more question to clarify. Recently, I ordered something on Amazon, and it came into a box. It's not this product, but it came in a box, with this color. And the box was like empty. And on one side, there was like a sticker with what Amazon needs to have. And there was like, I think...
FNSQ.
SQ, but it was written like maybe a short kind of information, what's kind of product, maybe a contact address. So this is enough, right? That sticker.
Was there a contact address? Or was it just the FNSQ barcode of the...
There was something more.
Yeah, you need... depending on the category, but what you always need, what kind of product is in there, and the responsible person's address. That's what you always need in the packaging.
And the name of
the product itself. Okay. Product or identification of the product, something like that. Otherwise, if you cannot put it either on this, on the product or on the packaging, then you need at least some supporting document which you inlay into the packaging. That's also possible, but there's always discussion about it if it's like really compliant. The Germans are lawyers, they like that kind of things. But as always, there is an expectation. There is an exception of this rule. And the first one is design is more important than law, at least here. It means if this address would destroy everything in your product design, then you are allowed to put it on the packaging. If you would, you would harm the design. So that's something which is cool, or if the surface is inappropriate or something like that. That's the first exception. There are a couple of more, but that are the two main ones. And it's super important what I say now. For bigger companies, you have different rules. And that's important to understand. If you're Apple, then you don't need to do as much for this as a small seller, because Apple stands for itself. So if you buy an Apple product, Apple cannot run away. Everybody knows where Apple lives, so to speak, or everybody knows who Lego is, So there are exceptions for these corporates, Adidas and all that, greater companies, where you can argue that the brand is well known worldwide and stuff like that. So don't go to the next supermarket or whatever. Take a product from a huge brand and just copy it, because maybe they have less requirements on the packaging than you have, and then you're still not compliant. Just because we know that story. So but I went to that shop and I took this blah blah product. Yeah, but they don't need to write that stuff down what you have to do, because it's Apple and not a private label seller.
Wow, it's very interesting. Okay, so
because people are doing it 100%. They go to the next supermarket. Last time we found a product which is in a big drugstore. Is it drugstore where you have cosmetic products and stuff like that? And it's like one of the 3 biggest chains in Germany, and they have one product, like a private label product from their own brand, which is not compliant. And we know that. And so if you go, it's just not compliant, not because of they're so big and stuff. It's just not compliant. And if you take this product, hey, they do it like this, I will also do it like this, and you copy it, then you're wrong as well. So do your own research and don't trust anybody, because compliance, if one thing is not compliant, or everything is not compliant. I'll never forget this sentence. And let's go to the next one. No, it's still the first one. So what most sellers do wrong is the product is not directly labeled, although it would be possible to label the product directly. And now a super funny thing: if a competitor proves that it's possible, then you are not compliant in the second he proves it's possible. That's super exciting. So we are both selling, headphones, and Apple shows us, for example, that they can put the address on their product because the products are super similar. And you don't have the address on your product at that moment, then in theory, Apple proves that it's possible, then you have to do it as well. That's super funny. Competition game. But maybe it's not a daily problem. The last part I said, like if the product and the competitor proves it, but from a legal perspective, it's the case. No model number or identification number. There are products which must be more specified than others, but still you need to know what kind of product is in the packaging. And the last common mistake is UK is not part of the European Union anymore, so your UK products are not compliant in the European Union and vice versa, because it could have many reasons, but the core reason is because you have not the same responsible person's address. You cannot use the same responsible person's address in both markets because they are both separated entities right now. Okay, next up. Because product labeling is so important and so difficult, I made two parts, as I said in the beginning. So the devil is definitely in the detail. So you saw it on the product and off the product, stuff like that. So the European Union accomplished, and here that one is now important for exporting and stuff like that, that in every country you send the product to. So it's not the original country. Let's take an example. You're exporting on Amazon, from Amazon.de, from Amazon Germany to the European Union in total. And some Bulgarian guy buys the product, a Romanian guy. There's no Amazon marketplace, so they purchase it on Amazon.de. The product must be in Romanian or Hungarian, the important parts of the product description, because it's the target country. Otherwise, you're not allowed to send into the country if you cannot meet the local rules and laws. I know it's maybe not a huge problem because you normally have not that many shipments there, but we are talking about theory. In theory, you are not compliant. That's for the small marketplace or for the small exporting countries. So where it's for sure important is if you're selling a product in the core marketplaces, like Poland, Germany, Italy, France, Spain, and so on. In these countries, you must have the local language for at least the product-related information, the ingredients, for example, so fact sheet, what you have in the USA, so macro stuff, proteins, and so on, and so forth, and hazard warnings. It must be always in the local language. And what happens here? Again, not Amazon is checking it, their competition. Yeah, a Polish guy selling on Amazon Poland, he orders your products. Hey guys, that's not in Polish here. Then he tells it to Amazon, you're blocked. If you're really unlucky, you're blocked not only in Poland, all over Europe, because the ASIN is then blacklisted or whatever. So that's things that are things which happen in reality. That's what we experience on a daily basis from our customers. We have some advantages, or many advantages of the European Union, like common rules, common laws, not a common language, but still many similarities, but not everything is the same. My favorite example is before the Brexit. Let's consider UK in the European Union still. We sold knives, like pizza knives, okay? Not a weapon or something like that, but in the UK, even though they're the biggest capitalist of all, in the UK, knives are from 18, and you cannot send things from 18, for example, from your own warehouse. It's illegal. It must be you need to do the 18 plus check whenever you deliver the goods. It's like sending, I don't know, alcohol or cigarettes. And it was only in UK the case. In the rest of in the other countries, it was not the case at all. So this customer, he had to use one stock for all over Europe and one stock for UK in storing it in the Amazon FBA, because it was an 18 plus product, it was a hazard warning, and that's why you cannot do pan-European program or cross-border stuff, and that's why you needed to manage two inventories before the Brexit already. But that's like one example. There are many examples like that in supplements of this kind may have a maximum of vitamin C of this amount, differs to another country, stuff like that. So every product must be analyzed individually. And as I said, Amazon is forced to check it. If they don't check it, they get fines from the European Union, and they normally are pretty expensive. So they will check it, or they will at least react when they got some notification from your competition or whatever. Another very funny example is misspelling, spelling mistakes. For example, if the ingredients of a supplement are always in the local language, and if you have not put and there are sometimes very complicated chemical formulas or chemical terms, and if you use if you put a spelling mistake in some of these long tail ingredients list, and it might show to the people that it's a different ingredient than the original one, then your product is lying to the customer, and then it's not compliant anymore. That was also a real case from us. Some ingredient was like, I'm making things up right now, but like with the name, but imagine phosphor, and it's like phosphor, and then it's something else, or it might be something else, and that's why a misspelling, spelling mistake made the product not compliant, which was used to be compliant. Also, just a story from our reality. A few examples you might notice: not for children under 3 years. It must be in a specific color. It has to have a specific proportions and size. If it's not, then it's not compliant. So if you have this red label, or it must be red black or something like that, in black and white, then the product is not compliant. And it's like you wouldn't have any of these symbols. So that's unfortunately the case. Or maybe from fridges and TVs, you have the energy efficiency labels. They also have one specific color coding, and it must be that color coding, and it must be that design. Otherwise, the product is not compliant. And ingredients of, as I said already, ingredients of food and supplements must be always translated in the marketplace country or marketplace language country.
Okay, so when you say to translate in country language, but
country language,
so it's getting complicated because product is distributed automatically to different Amazon countries.
Not automatically.
Or like
only if you disable it.
Okay, if you
if you not disable it, it's an opt-out basically. If you don't do it, then they distribute it.
So sometimes I live in Portugal, and sometimes I order some product or supplement from German Amazon just because it's not available in Spanish Amazon, and they ship it to Portugal. So in which do they supposed to have translated into Portuguese? Okay, but of course,
if you look if you look on, of course not, nobody's doing it. But if you look in the law, Produktsicherheitsgesetz or product security law, then it's the case. It must be in Portuguese. Because you can remove the export, or you can adjust the export settings to not send products to Portugal. You have the choice. You don't have to do it. So then the lawmaker will come, hey, you was not forced to sell it to Portugal. Why did you do that? And I mean, what if you're talking about that kind of stuff? I don't know. But if you're like supplements and something bad happens, it can get very dangerous.
Okay.
Okay. Then everybody likes the topic CE. I cannot speak French, but let's call it European conformity. Okay, a conformity, a European, and that's why the C is before the E. Everybody heard it. Everybody saw it. Who was in Europe at some point, but many do it wrong. And what it says is there are 25 mandatory categories where you need to be CE certified. Okay, do you have these categories like toys, electronic, and 23 others? When you sell a product in this category, you must be CE certified, and you must put the CE logo on the product. Again, on the product. I'm not even sure if there are any expectations to not put it on the product. It must be on the product. I have a nice example here. It's Apple again. The CE logo. Maybe it's not. You will not see it because the CE logo is in here. Very slightly. It's in the case, because you need it on the product, you cannot put it just on the packaging. And if you're in one of these categories, you need CE. If you are not in one of these categories, you are not allowed to use CE. That's important to understand. So you cannot say like, hey guys, I have this hat and that's CE certified, because you're not in one of these 25 mandatory categories. But people are doing it. That's the first thing what you actually can avoid with listening to me right now. The second thing is you are not allowed to do marketing with obvious things, with self-evident things. So, guys, I have my product is CE certified and that's why it's cool. No, you are in one of these mandatory categories. It has to be certified. Otherwise, you are not allowed to sell it here. And you are not allowed to do marketing with self-evident stuff or self-explanatory stuff. That's like saying to people, hey, I give you a guarantee on my product of this amount of this month, yeah, even though it's already by law that you have to give a guarantee. Or if you buy in my shop, you will give invoices with VAT. Yeah, of course you will send me invoices with VAT because you're a legal company in Germany. You have to put VAT on your invoices. That stuff you are not allowed to do marketing with, and CE is one of them. And you might have heard the story. I think it's pretty common in this e-commerce world. China export, super similar, because the CE needs to look in a specific way with the proportions and the distance between the C and the E. And some Chinese guy had the idea, hey, CE, it can be also, yeah, China export. Let's use China export as a label. And if people see it CE, they might think it's CE and super compliant, like the normal conformity thing. But in reality, it's China export. So don't trust what your supplier wants to tell you there. Do your own math. If they say, yeah, product's compliant, never believe that. Never believe it. Doesn't matter if they're from China, from Spain, or from Germany. Doesn't matter. You always have to do your own research, because in the end, it's your account which is in danger when you sell trash over there, or not compliant stuff. And as I said, you're not allowed to use the CE mark if you're not in one of the CE categories. And that's I forgot another one. The first one, ROHS. That was used to be the battery label. So if you sell a product, if you sell a battery or a product which contains batteries, you needed the certification ROHS. This certification is now part of CE. So every product which was used to be in this category is now in the CE category, and it's self-evident again. And the lawmaker said like, okay, then you are not allowed to put this logo on your products anymore. So the logo, which was required a couple of years before, is not allowed to be on the packaging right now, because it's now part of the CE. Super funny. And we have also a customer, pretty big brand from Southeast Europe. And they just didn't know it, because 5 years ago you needed CE and you needed this, and now it's not allowed to have it anymore on the packaging. Little details, but what I wanted to say is things can change, and you need to update your stuff at least every couple of. I don't want to drop a number, but you need to be aware of things can change. Also, funny thing, organic. We might know the organic logo, the organic label. It says like, this product is in some way more ecological than other products.
You mean this bio stamps?
Bio.
Like,
yes, bio. Yeah.
Organic eco.
Exactly. Organic eco, whatever. And one thing which I did not know, is kind of still cheating the end customer or the end consumer. If one ingredient of your product is ecological, like organic, then you can apply for the organic certification for the whole product. That's funny, because it's the other way around from everything we heard before. But what is not nice, that you need to, first of all, you need to refresh that certification every year. So we had it like 2 weeks ago. It costs money, and and it costs time and energy. You waste your time for whatever reason, but you have to do it, and it costs like 500 to 1,000 euro per year just for checking in, plus upcoming audits. They're a bit more expensive, but it only happens in a few cases.
Do you mean if I baked a muffin and I'm selling, or a muffin, like the flour mix, and one ingredient is organic and others are not, so I can apply for bio stamp?
Yeah.
Oh, so everything is fake, basically, fake bio.
Yeah, bio is the biggest fake. Yeah, I'm sure about it. Maybe there is some level of when it gets ridiculous, but I know it from supplements. If one ingredient of this all is organic, then you might make it organic as well. Okay. But now comes the exciting and exciting. Let's call it exciting part. Everyone in the value chain must be certified. That's completely retarded. Everybody in this, what does Space Goats do? We sell your products, Augustas, to our Amazon account. But we have the Amazon account, that's one entity, and we have Space Goats, the customer-facing entity. Okay, and then we have you as a customer. You come with your super organic product and say, "Hey, some organic product, no problem." Space Goats needs to certify themselves for bio, for organic. Our distribution company needs to do it as well. The 3PL needs to do it. It's completely insane that everybody in the chain must do that on a yearly basis. Maybe it's a money-making mechanic. I don't know. Maybe some smart guys, they had some influence in politics, but it's like, I'm just selling the stuff which I never touched. You sent from your warehouse to our Amazon account, but still we need to be organically certified. But some good news. At least it's valid for Europe completely. So if you do this nonsense or this hell one time, you can use it everywhere. And now comes again some funny things about organic and bio. You have the certification. Your product is supposed to be bio or organic. You have to put the logo on the packaging, but to use the logo, you need a license from a different entity. So you do the certification, whatever. You say, yeah, you're bio, you're organic, and then you have to go to a different company and say, I need the logo license, and then you pay there again, and then you get the allowance to use the logo for bio, even though you have to have it on the packaging. I'm not sure if it's required to have it on the packaging, but if you want to do marketing, you have to have it there, right? Funny. And if you do bio, like if you do sell organic products, you need to have the organic inspection authority number also on the product somewhere, so that people can look up who tested you or who did the audit and stuff like that. To display the logo, you need to apply for it first. And if you use, now comes the rule. If you use somewhere bio or organic, then you have to have the logo. That was the rule. If you don't say anything about bio or organic, then you are fine. But then it's useless to get this certification.
Yeah, because in the ingredient you will say like sugar comes from organic farm or something.
Exactly. And if you say this, then you have to have the logo on the package. So in reality, you have to have this logo, and therefore you need to apply for it. Super funny, like little details. I don't think one guy was sitting on a table and made this all up. I think it was like a development of, hey, that might be a good idea, and that might be a good idea, and then they mix it up like a Frankenstein, and now it gets like weird. I guess it's the reality for many rules and laws we have here in Europe, or all over the world. I don't want to blame only Europe. We are doing stuff in USA. There's also something weird here and there. So, all right, the last part. Your product is compliant. Everything is super fine and works. You can still, screw it up at some point if you don't do your homework on the marketing part. What do I mean with it? If you have an agency writing your content and they don't care about your product compliance, you say like, hey, I want search engine optimized content, they will do the best they can. But if the content is then not compliant, that's not it's supposed to be or it should be, but it's not the case. So in the end, they will not blame the lawmaker will not blame your agency, they will blame you because you uploaded that stuff. So always double check what you upload on the website. What do I mean? For example, health claims. Or I don't know, if you're using health claims, if it's not proven by lab tests and whatever that your product is doing what it's supposed to do, especially for supplements, I don't know, growing muscle and stuff like that, then you're not allowed to say it at any point. So basically, you have to have everything super clean and not really we have the best ingredient, stuff like that. Yeah, but you're not allowed to say, the best is also difficult, always difficult, if you have like ultimate calls. But you're not allowed to tell effects of the product, even though the product has the effects if it's proven. But this is just one thing. There are many others. For example, we have one customer. He, I think it was Thermomix. Do you have Thermomix, Augustus, in Lisbon, or is it just a German thing?
I don't. We never had in my house such thing. It's like universal.
But you know what it is,
machine. Right? I know. Yeah, it's like you can do a lot of different functions, the soups and pressure cooker, probably.
Yeah, it's like ChatGPT for cooking. Just everything in it, and it happens. And he did like supplements for that, or additional appliances.
So,
additional appliances for this Thermomix. And in the name, it must be clear. It must be clarified that it's not Thermomix. That is not the brand Thermomix. That is just a good for Thermomix and not Thermomix itself. And there's a specific writing how you spell it in each language, and that's what you have to use. Okay, there are some little variations, but in general, you must make sure that someone who looks at the product understands that it's not the brand Thermomix. Otherwise, Thermomix can sue you. And Thermomix, let's call it nicely. They have a strong legal department. Let's call it like this. And if they see it, if Amazon does not block you, they will block you. We had other examples for SodaStream, for printers. If you're selling ink for a Canon printer, you're not allowed to say that it's Canon, stuff like that. You have to really balance it out. And even if you do it right, the algorithm is still blocking your products for no reason, and you have to struggle with Amazon to unblock it again. Stuff like that is happening. So to get back to the point, check your copywriting. That's important. We had that point already. Don't make marketing with common sense. You get an invoice with VAT, you get guarantee, which is anyhow required from the legal side. Stuff like that. We can jump over it. And there are also some terms. For example, GMO. It's like without genetic manipulations, okay? And this is a term, it must
genetic modification, I think, yeah.
Thank you very much. Genetic modification, I don't know, I only know the German. This one, and this one has to be in a specific spelling. If you just change one symbol, one single letter, then it's not what it's supposed to be anymore, and then you're not compliant. And that are like super little details, but that's how people which want to take you off Amazon do. They go, for example, we have our in-house product compliance guy, Timo. He helped me with this presentation. He said, like, Anton, if you don't believe me, send me any listing from one of the biggest supplement brands, anyone, and give me 30 to 60 seconds, I will find a mistake. And he said, like, the big brands, $1 million brands in Europe. He said, here, I'm just seeing it from the Amazon. I don't need to even to order a product to my home. I see it on the images or on the packaging or whatever. And he said, like, after, I don't know, 40, 50 seconds, this guy, he said, like, GMO, but he's not allowed to call it GMO. It has to be like this. Here's the rule for it. And that's why I was like, what? Really? And he showed me that for 2 or 3 times for really big brands. Everybody knows, and everyone has some little compliance issue. Of course, if nobody knows, then you are good to go. And if everybody's doing it, you're also good to go. But as soon as one starts to blame you at Amazon, then the war begins. And then everybody starts looking for little mistakes and little details and stuff like that. Anyhow, next point. Don't you might know the logo in the t-shirt, in the back of a t-shirt with, you are not allowed to, or don't wash it warmer than 30 degrees, and there's like a washing machine logo on the t-shirt label. This logo is protected. To use that logo, you need to apply for that logo before you are allowed to use it. I think nobody knows that one. Because everybody knows the logo, and everybody knows because it's a textile, I need to put some washing recommendation on it. But to do so, I need to apply first for the logo for I don't know what reason, and then I may use. Then I have to use this one. Same for Bluetooth, for example.
Yeah, so it's basically all these kind of international signs which means Bluetooth or it means washing machine.
Yeah.
So you cannot just put it randomly. Okay.
Yeah, but nobody knows. I didn't know it myself. I knew Bluetooth because it's super common. I was studying mechanical engineering. We had that case as well. But for the washing law, I thought like, hey, it's a requirement. Same for the bio logo. It's a requirement to have it here. But okay. Yeah, same for Bluetooth, and there are also other terms which you cannot use. Yeah, and then there's some little details. Is the product really made in Germany, or is it just designed in Germany? To be made in Germany, you have a list of requirements. To be designed in Germany, you have another list of requirements, stuff like that. But in general, be careful what you write there and what you promise to the customer. It might be not allowed. And right now, I'm going through my life with this compliance mindset, and all the time I hear like things with people are promising stuff like, "I guarantee you that you lose 5 kilos weight." You know, as a person called, yeah, but if you guarantee it, is it legal then? You know, there's so much stuff coming into your head because you know that kind of things, and so many people are doing that wrong. So don't worry. It's just about the mindset that you understood why you have to do it right. And yeah. And next part. Don't make up words. There's the one German. It's basically what is written here. Schafsbaumwolle. What is written here is a sheep cotton. Either you have sheep. I don't know. Wolle. 1 second.
Wool. It's wool.
Yeah, sheep wool. Thank you very much. Sheep wool or cotton. Okay, you cannot have made up. That's a real example also from our compliance guy. He made up this word, which does not exist, and some competitors said like, guys, that's illegal, banned from Amazon for a long time because he made up words. So don't make up words. Another thing, and that is my before the last point. You might know Tempo, Lego, stuff like that. Everybody knows it's a brand, but then the other way around. Doesn't matter. You're not allowed to use that brand. And imagine I have a friend here from this area. He's selling Lego-like stuff. How the hell doing marketing if you're not allowed to use Lego? I'm always like wondering, how do you do that? And he's like finding workarounds. What people might. If I would look for a product like this, I would look for fake Lego. Seriously, I wouldn't even know how to explain or how to call the product different than Lego. And you have the same, and maybe it's interesting a couple of you guys, for neoprene. Neoprene, it's like the if you go surfing or if you go to cold water, it keeps you basically warm. It's neoprene, and it's also a brand. To use neoprene, you actually need to have a license from neoprene, but how the hell to call it other way around in a different way? So that are things you need to consider upfront. And I didn't know that neoprene. I thought it's like the material's name, but it's a brand. And the last story, I think I told it already once in a previous one, but it's so weird that it's always fun. One of our customers was selling some product from Africa. It was organic, whatever butter, shea butter or something. Organic, but in German it's organic. It's not like bio. It's not a protected word. It's like it's something comes from original materials. So it's not a protected term. But at the Amazon algorithm, translated from organisch, which is in German, to organic, and organic is bio, and bio needs a certification, and bio needs a label, and bio needs whatever we talked about bio, and then the product gets blocked. And the horrible story is forever. He never was able to unblock it again. And that happened because Amazon translated this product automatically with their own AI. You didn't do anything wrong. You just uploaded it properly in Amazon Germany. And they proactively put their listings on other marketplaces and translated it, and then it got blocked forever. We solved it like with a workaround, so we uploaded a completely new product. It was basically the same, and then we used them in under one roof, and then we got the reviews over there. But you know, this product was never live again. So insane. Although you did not do anything wrong. So you're not, responsible for everything, but for the parts you're responsible, you should be really careful. And the things are getting stricter at Amazon, and everybody who's selling in Amazon Europe feels it. And that's all from. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it a bit. And now, why I talk about that kind of, or why I can talk about that kind of stuff, as every product which is sold under our Amazon account must be checked, because it's our account and we must be compliant. We created from this what we anyhow had to do for our customers. In the really beginning, we didn't do anything, because you don't know, then you don't do it. But then you get bigger, and you know things are getting risky. You have to align to your company size, stuff like that. So we have developed a process where we check pretty affordable what kind of stuff is needed to make your product compliant in the European Union. Especially in the European Union, there we are very strong. And in the USA, we are right now building it up and making our building up our knowledge. It goes from visual inspections, so product packaging, say, hey, can I do it like that? Is it compliant? To copywriting check, we send us your listings, and we just check if they have claims of neoprene or whatever you are not allowed to do. Is my product also compliant in Spain? Stuff like that. And we can also just check it in general. Say, hey, I have this product. Please check if everything is compliant. And then we order up get your product, we check the labeling, we check the certifications, the copywriting, everything, what you need to do to make your product compliant. And that's all from the marketing side. Thanks for listening. You know that slide already, but I like it so much. I'm always using it. And as Augusta said already in the beginning, you get a nice discount on our selling as a service of 1.9% points. So instead of 4.9%, you pay only 3% for the first 3 months, and for USA you pay instead of 6.5%, 4.6%. That's so that you have time to ramp up your products and really get like the thing rolling. And now that's really my last slide. Thank you very much for your attention, and I forward the word to Augustus. Thank you.
So thank you very much. The link to Space Goats you will also find below in the description, and the coupon code which you can apply if you want to take services of Space Goat. As I think mentioned in the earlier, it's a really unique service. And I'm really happy to hear that you are now offering a compliance check service. This was one of my questions I wanted to ask, like where it's so complicated and it's so hard to connect all the dots. And like, is there authority we can ask questions, or is there a lawyer? But it's so good that you also provide this service now. So.
But lawyers are always expensive. Lawyers are always super expensive, and they don't have slick processes. So a lawyer, So for affordable price, you can get it from Space Goat.
Perfect. And actually, so let's say someone is selling, and you said you have to update maybe packaging all the time, once in a while, to be compliant. How to be up to date to all these changes? Like, is it come to you and ask
content, watching stuff like we had produced right now, but it's never like suddenly we have this rule or law. It comes in the European Union, and from there it takes 3 years till it's in the local, integrated in the local. So you have time normally. And if you don't go through the world like this, you should, if you're interested in your own products, then you should get the information at some point. I don't know, from your customs broker or from your 3PL partner, you know, or watching content. Yeah. I don't know if there's a recipe to stay 100% compliant. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Anton. And once again, if you need help with selling in Europe, check Space Ghost service. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and like below this player. So thank you, Anton, and bye-bye. And now I would like to invite everyone to watch other video with Anton, where we talk about different European Amazon marketplaces, Sweden, Poland, and Anton talks in more details about what's happening there. So it's just another video. Check this out.